We are setting up the 10 teams that will battle it out for the ODI World Cup. And today, we take a look at holders England. England won their maiden World Cup title 4 years back on that famous evening in Lord's, and they enter the marquee event as title contenders once again. To set up their campaign, we are joined by 1996 World Cup winning coach Dav Whatmore. Dav, this is a side that are undisputed kings of white ball cricket right now. They're not just ODI world champions, but also T20 world champions. They certainly enter the tournament with a target on their back.
Absolutely, and you know, who would have thought, really? I'm still coming to terms with this aggression of England. I mean, when you think of English cricket, you think of, you know, the inventors of the game. They play it sedately, and you know, but of recent times, it's been full-on aggression. Yeah. Particularly in in Test match cricket, and that's filtering down the other way into one-day cricket.
So the one thing that stands out about this team is their batting depth. You know, depending on the players that they pick, they bat up to 9 or even 10. You know, if we get a chance to look at the squad draft, it's just almost unheard of.
Well, that's right. I think they're stronger this year than they were 4 years ago. The only difference is the conditions.
That's saying quite a lot.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's one of the most strongest batting on paper that we've got in this World Cup. So they'll be thinking very positively about, you know, making it 2 in a row.
Yeah, since that, you know, almost disastrous 2015 World Cup campaign, they've sort of rewritten the ODI manual. I mean, their batters are really given a license to attack. Now we've got the batters in their squad. I mean, just take a look at the names. Jos Buttler, Johnny Bairstow. Joe Root has gone under the radar. I mean, no one is even talking about him anymore. But just take us through that batting lineup there.
Well, if you have a look at it, 5 of those guys I reckon will play. Harry Brook, who's forced his way in, for someone so young and very talented, he will probably miss out, and he'll, you know, and that's because it's such a strong quartet of the 5 batsmen that he's got to, you know, try and push out. So Buttler, Bairstow, Root, Stokes, and Milan is 5 of the, you know, as good a 5 batsmen as you've got in the World Cup. And
they're without Jason Roy, who misses out, unfortunately. That's the kind of talent that they have. And of course, if we move on to the all-rounders there, they pack a punch as well. I mean, Moeen Ali, Liam Livingstone, Sam Curran, and importantly, all of them have played in India in the IPL.
They all do, and they all have done pretty well also. So, you know, they're very lucky to have that calibre of bowlers who can, you know, who can also bat. And in Livingstone's case, a wonderful batsman who can bowl. So,
yeah, and their bowlers can bat as well. Let's just take a look at the bowlers.
Yeah.
Mark Wood, we saw in the Ashes that he can hit a few boundaries.
Dangerous.
Chris Woakes can, you know, be called a bowling all-rounder. Would you call him that?
Yeah, I reckon he could have got his name up in the other group, but still, he can handle a bat, and so can Adil Rashid. Yeah, you know, he's a wonderful player.
Well, now we have to talk about the one and only Ben Stokes. You know, 8 of that 2019 World Cup winning team is in the squad, of course, including Stokes. And, you know, even without Ben Stokes, you would say that England were one of the contenders. Yeah. But now with him back, I mean, they're just a different beast altogether, aren't they?
Surely. And, you know, he brings an extra punch to that batting group. His ability to change a game. You know, he could be in that group of the top run scorers and also in that group of impact players or game changers. So I'm expecting, you know, that he will, you know, whichever way it goes, he'll be having an impact on their performances and on their wins. And,
you know, Stokes, you can arguably say, is the most clutch player in cricket right now. Just, he rises to the big occasion like no other player. I mean, is that what sets him apart? He's almost like Superman.
Yeah, there are some guys around the world who are big game players that just rise to the occasion. In his case, I'm pretty sure he was always going to play in this World Cup, even though he was out of that team for quite a while beforehand. He's had some injuries he has to manage, and I think the England management have achieved that. They've looked after him, they've managed him well, and now he's back into a very big tournament, and they've got every right to feel that you know, they can defend their title.
You know, he's actually short of match practice. He, in fact, was out for ODIs for about 1.5 years. but he returned in that series against New Zealand. And, he doesn't need any time to, sort of get in the groove. 182, the highest score by an English batter in ODI cricket. He's just sensational.
Well, that's right. And class again, class comes through. So, he's proved that again. And I personally don't think you lose much if you haven't played the game for a while. It'll take you just a couple of net sessions and maybe a game, and you're well in the swing of things.
Yeah, well, we also have to talk about Harry Brook. There's been a lot of talk about him. Yeah. He's considered one of the best young batters in world cricket, but such is the talent in their squad that he just about creeped in at the expense of Jason Roy. Can he be the X factor for the team?
Well, he can do. I think the short answer there is yes as well. But every now and again, you get an extremely talented young player who shines out and comes through. And in his case, he's pushed out a pretty decent guy in Jason Roy to be selected in the final 15. And his style of play really does suit this aggressive way in which England play. And let's not forget also that the coach of the team is an Aussie.
Yeah.
And the coach of the Test team, where they also play very aggressively, is a New Zealander. So, that's interesting to see, isn't it?
Where do you think Harry Brook's best position is in this 11?
Oh, gee, look, he could bat anywhere really, but I think somewhere up the top, somewhere in the middle. I'm not sure he'll open, but he can do that as well. We just have to wait and see when he gets his opportunity. And if he doesn't get his opportunity, that spells bad news for everyone else, because the team's doing well.
Yeah, he hasn't had that much experience in ODI cricket. He's proven himself in Tests, T20 as also he's done well. But well, you can make the argument not many players have played ODI cricket over the last few years. But he can really, in the 40 to 50 over mark, he can play any game you want. Surely,
I think he's worth it. What we've seen so far with Harry Brook, I think it was a good decision to pick him. Very unlucky, Jason Roy, but I think.
Would you have gone with Roy in your England squad?
Not really, no. Look, I do feel sorry for him because he's such a good player. But this guy is an exceptional talent also, and he's got a huge future ahead of him. A lot of years to serve for his country. So I think that's fair enough. Yeah, well, he wasn't part of your top 5 batters to watch out for, but I think he'll make your reserves for that. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see how he performs over the next couple of months. Now we have to talk about their bowling. They have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to their batting, but their bowling isn't quite there. Jofra Archer is travelling with the team as part of the reserves, but Mark Wood's fitness is also a concern. Do you think they'll have a bit of a problem, completing those 50 overs? Factually right, and then you also got to factor in Stokes not bowling. Yeah. So that's 3 of them, and all 3 are pretty decent bowlers. But I think when you look at the reserves there, and I'm putting in Atkinson, Topley, and Willie as reserves. So I'm playing Curran, Wood, and the all-rounder Wokes. I'm playing Wokes. So. It's not a bad bowling lineup, and then you add 2 very experienced spinners to that. Yeah, a wrist spinner, who he's your go-to guy. Yeah, and Moeen Ali, who's defied all, not logic, but he always answers the call. Yeah, man, I tell you, he's come good, and he's a very experienced player as well. So. Factually, yes, Jofra Archer, who's been a wonderful player and is waiting to come back after injury. Yeah. Mark Wood has got potentially injury problems, but he's been managed well. Yeah. And then Stokes not bowling. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Gus Atkinson as well. He's impressed on the county circuit, and the England management really seem to believe in him. So, he could be a surprise package. But I just want to ask you a question. Do you feel like if Jofra Archer becomes fit, do you potentially see him coming into the squad? Because Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, if they get going, that's quite a pace. It is a nice battery of pace to have in your team. I think if he's fit, then there has to be a place for him, I think. And it may come with an injury, or it may come later in the series when they need just a rest 1 or 2. Yeah. So I think that one of those 2 circumstances exist. he'll come in, and then he's got to really put his best foot forward and show that he's capable of retaining his place.
Well, as you said, they also have decent spinners, and Adil Rashid is their premier spinner. Now, he goes under the radar a little bit, but in Indian conditions, you know, he can really prove to be a match winner for England.
Yeah, to me, not just in Indian conditions. He's a go-to guy to get the wicket. Whenever you want a wicket, I would expect the ball to go to either Mark Wood or Adil Rashid. And the variations that he had is wonderful. Now, apart from the stock delivery, the leg break, he's got a wonderful googly that fools a lot of batsmen. And also that quicker ball, which is called the flipper, he's mastered pretty well. So, you know, he's a very, very important player in that group.
And also something that stands out about him is that he's fearless. If he goes for a few runs, that doesn't seem to dent his confidence. He comes back and takes those wickets, and that's very important for a spinner.
Well, that's right. Spinners, by tradition, will get hit because they are slow bowlers. Even a miss hit sometimes can be...
and
can
small
go
boundaries here in India, some of them.
But in his case, he's able to absorb all that because experience, you know, that happens, but you get back and you come back again and bowl and try and get the batsman out. And I think he can, you know, he's done that. He's proved that.
Okay, Dav, now I'll put you on the spot. Now let's go through your England 11. Plenty of talent to choose from. We'll just get that graphic on here. So who've you gone for your openers?
Well, I've gone, when it comes up, Bairstow and Malan. Now, Malan is somebody that, you know, has been preferred as an opening batsman in recent times. He's not your aggressor like the others. If you have a look, Bairstow, Stokes and Buttler as real dashers. So you have a David Malan who I think will play, and he's a left-hander also. Root is also not a dasher, but can be destructive and bat very long. Stokes and Buttler, of course, are game changers in their own right. And both of those, I'm sure, will look to have a real impression in the tournament. Livingston, man, now that guy can also, you know, put an icing on the cake and be very awkward for the opposition. Then you got Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, Rashid. The only guy there, Wokes, I reckon, he was the only one that I might bracket with maybe an out-and-out fast bowler, because this guy Wokes can bat as well. So maybe you don't need that. Maybe you can go for an Atkinson or a Topley or the other fast bowler in the reserves.
Just looking at the team here, if you go through them, they look like world champions, don't they?
Well, they're 10 batsmen basically. They can all handle the bat. And Mark Wood also has embarrassed some of these opposition bowlers by whacking, having the ability to whack.
Just something when I see this team comes to my mind, when you sort of compare it to India. India need bowlers who can bat, and that's exactly what England have, and that, just can prove to be the difference in big games.
Absolutely, but the only thing that I will want to see answered is these conditions. And the pitch surface can change a little bit, just like the Australian team. I think they're very good. But if it's a little bit slower and holding up a little bit, then there's a few questions they need to answer, and they'll need to be a little flexible in the way they approach it.
But the good thing is, as you mentioned, for them, is that all of them have played cricket in India, a lot of cricket in India.
That's right.
Okay, Dav, I haven't been as tough on you as Digvijay, but I have to put you on the spot again, and I have to ask you for your prediction for England. Where will they finish at the World Cup?
Right, yeah. Look, I think they're going to figure in the semis, no question, along with India. I'm expecting them, if they are handling the conditions, I reckon they've got every chance of defending their title. So I'm expecting them to play off in that last game. And if they're able to handle the conditions, wow, the Barmy Army will be very happy.
So are you going for an India-England final?
I've said that before, yes I am.
And who are your winners?
It'll be a super over, and this time England will lose.
And this time there's no boundary count.
There's no boundary count.
So we'll just keep doing super overs as long as the score is tied. Of course, everyone remembers that last final, that England prevailed in that match. If we get a match anything close to that, we'll have had a very, very good World Cup. Of course, we'll be previewing the rest of the teams, but that's it on this episode of WION World of Cricket.